Anchors up, sells it full. Welcome to the Sloopcast. How are you doing today, Kyle?
Doing pretty well, Jared. How are you doing today?
Doing good. Slow start for the Buckeyes. I blame Wrigley Field.
Yep, that's what it is.
Yeah. It's Wrigley Field. It's Wrigley Field. That part's a joke. But with sincerity, they did what they had to do. This was a preparation game before the two games that matter the most. The three games, hopefully, after those two games that matters the most, although not as much as Michigan. There was a point in time in which we would have said, well, yeah, the Big Ten title game matters just as much. But no, after a few losses, nothing matters more than the Michigan game, and that is undisputed, especially if you're Ryan Day. But that's not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about the Ohio State Northwestern game. As expected for the most part.
31-7. I was hoping for a little bit more score, especially at the end there. I think Ryan Day kind of summed it up best there. He was hoping to Ohio State finish a little bit on that in the fourth quarter there. But I mean, you come out of there with the victory 31-7. Debatable whether you look at that as convincing or not, but 31-7. But I think more importantly, come out of there on a non-football field, converted to football field with no injuries.
No serious injuries.
Serious injuries, that is.
Yeah. Sure does look like, according to video, it does kind of look like one of the Northwestern players tried to intentionally hurt JJ Smith. The video is very suggestive. I'll say that. I'm not going to make any accusations here. I don't have my lawyer in the chat currently, so I'm not going to make any accusations here. I am going to say it looked suspicious. In all honesty, and I get that it was an accident, but the G. Scott injury looked suspicious too. That was an accident. G. Scott got up. The guy tried to jump over him. It kneed him in the arm. That's just I don't know why he was trying to jump over him anyway instead of walking around him as the play was over. But hey, listen. Point is that I think we got out of the game without any serious injuries. We tried to put some BS on the tape early in the game, although I think they got away from that after they realized they weren't going to get that many possessions.
Yep.
But as we talked about during last week's Scarlet and Grade, one of the goals of the Purdue game. Sorry, I need to take a drink. Kyle, describe putting bullshit on the tape for the people while I take a drink.
Yeah, we talked about a few times in previous episodes here, just how they just trying to put things on the tape there just to make people think, oh, you see Emeka in motion. Oh, will he actually get the ball and a sweep around? Oh, he may actually throw it now. Put that kind of stuff on tape just to question just that little bit more there.
Something that Michigan and Indiana have to game plan for. That's it. It's something that the coaches and the players have to waste precious cycles on. That's it. Anyway.
Yep.
So we saw one of those plays, maybe two of those plays early. But the defense was not playing well at the beginning. I think I feel pretty comfortable saying that. I don't know what happens. And it needs to be discussed. Sometimes you get these quarterbacks coming into the Ohio State game who have horrendous completion percentages. Then they come into Ohio State and open the game with like 8 straight completions. It feels like it's happened a couple times this year. Anyway, I think we probably discuss that more once we get into the actual report card. Are you ready to do that? Do you have any thoughts you want to express before we get into the report card?
Yeah, no, it's honestly, it's almost kind of like, well, maybe not a tale of two halves. Well, But yeah, let's go ahead and cover it here. Let's go ahead and jump into our grading here. So let's go ahead and first start by talking about the offense here. So game plan here, we knew going into this game that Ohio State didn't really need a game plan really all that much. Maybe put some stuff on tape there for next weekend and the following weekend as well. So game plan, I think it was fine. I don't think there was anything horrendous or anything bad. Yeah, there was a few plays of like why is Ohio State doing this, but it's fine. What would you grade them?
I mean, I have nothing to say about the game plan in particular, other than to say that my Photoshop is breaking.
Oh,
Okay, that it worked that time. All right. Yeah, I mean, game plan was fine. The B plus, I suppose. You're trying to put some BS on tape. You're not trying to give away your actual playbook,
yeah.
which is maybe a goofy thing to say in the month of November, but their eyes are in the future. So they just kind of, it was relatively bland except for some trick plays, which were the, pre-referenced tape subterfuge.
Yeah. I guess I didn't give my grade. I gave it a B. Nothing spectacular, nothing horrendous. So a B for me.
All right.
Offensive
game management. Offensive game management.
I think it was fine. I didn't have anything to complain about. And he really didn't need to really do much too. Yeah, the beginning of the game wasn't what you wanted to. Northwestern had some really long drives that.
Well, but we'll address that on the defensive side.
We will, but that really limited the number of possessions Ohio State could have too. So, but I think as far as game management, it was fine. A.
I was going to do an A. I'm going to knock off a couple points on the game management. I would have liked to have seen the starters pulled earlier. So I'm going to do a B.
Okay. Passing here, Howard finished the game 15 for 24. Didn't have a great second half in terms of, especially in the, I think in that fourth quarter there. But he finished 15 for 24, 247, 2 touchdowns, no picks for the game there, 63% completion. Howard is what Howard is. Like,
sure.
What we wanted from Howard is what we're getting right now. Doesn't have to make plays. He doesn't have to go and win games. He's the distributor. He's the guy that's running the offense and doesn't need to win games like he did over at Kansas State before. So I'd say B plus. I don't have a lot to complain about what Howard did. A couple of dumb throws, a couple of overthrows, but we're bound to get those kind of throws once in a while from Howard that we've seen.
Do you have a snapshot of of his completion percentage through the third quarter?
Through the third quarter? Yeah, I do. Through the third quarter, he was 13 for 19. So that was like 71% or something like that.
So significantly better. I feel like they were just throwing some deep stuff in the fourth quarter. Like they were doing some real low percentage stuff in the fourth quarter, kind of brought his number down a bit. 2
for 5 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. So, but I don't know. He was incredibly on point. Like there were points in time in the game where he was putting the ball into some incredibly small windows. When the game mattered, I felt like he was killing it. I'm actually going to give him an A plus.
Third quarter, he was 4 for 5. 4 for 5, 97 yards and that touchdown. And the second quarter, the third quarter, he was on point.
Yeah.
On point there. If you take the second, 13 for 19 through 3 quarters. Yeah, he was really solid. Yeah. But I'll stick with my A.
Okay.
The running attack here, like Yeah, we're so fortunate to have both Judkins and Henderson on this team here because there's definitely times where if they weren't if they were on the team, like Ohio State would have had a ton more of lost yardage plays, but Judkins and
True.
Henderson do their thing and being able to bounce off tackles and make something out of nothing too. Both of them combined for 26 yard or excuse me 26 carries for 150 yards for the game. Yep, nothing to complain about. So I would say an A for the running attack.
I mean, if we're talking specifically about the guys running the ball, I thought they had a tremendous game. I'm actually going to go A plus. We'll talk about the blocking here in a couple minutes. But like they were dodging guys in the backfield. Trey put a spin move on someone before, well, not before he got the handoff. That would be silly, but like a millisecond after he got the handoff, I thought the running backs were like totally on their shit today. Like they were exceptionally good.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the run blocking here in a second, but I thought the running backs, the people running with the ball, were tremendous today.
Yeah, completely agree. Receivers here. Jeremiah had 4 catches for 100 yards. The Chicago kid himself, Tate, had 452 yards and 2 touchdowns as well. Yeah, I think overall the receivers played pretty well too. Definitely a couple of plays that it seemed like the effort wasn't there. Maybe I'm just reading too much into it though. For a couple
I
of,
don't personally remember seeing that, but
so I'd say I would say like an A minus. They made some critical catches when they needed to. So I'll say an A minus for the receivers.
yeah, I mean, I'm going to go with a straight A for the wide receivers. Um, I thought Jeremiah Smith had a great day. He didn't quite get that one in the end zone, which would have completely changed the perception of this game. If Ohio State
Mm-hmm.
would have gotten a touchdown there, then Ohio State probably covers at that point, which some people care about. But yeah, losing that play and then turning it into a punt in which you didn't even net that many yards kind of sucks, especially in that first quarter where like every drive really mattered, like
Mm-hmm.
exceptionally mattered. Um, but he made a great effort, and by the way, was pass interfered on. I kind of wish that the ref could go into that booth and be like, he didn't catch it, but upon further review, the cornerback mugged him.
Yeah.
So pass interference. That's not within the rules. They're not allowed to do that. But yeah. Tyler in the chat says receiving. I'll go A. The JJ drop was frustrating. Yeah, I mean I don't. I realize maybe technically that goes down as a drop. I don't feel comfortable calling that a drop personally, but yeah, I feel what you're saying. Run blocking. What do you have for run blocking, Kyle?
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad, and like I mentioned just earlier, it's a good thing that we have the running backs that we do on the team here because yeah, Northwestern was getting into that backfield early and often. So yeah, just thankful that we have Judkins and Henderson on the team here. But for the offensive line on the running side of it, yeah, it was bad. But it did get better as in certain parts of the game there, like the blocking was getting better, but I think for the most part it was definitely subpar. So I would say like a C minus.
Yeah, and like we always talk about how we grade on a curve, right? Um, I don't think that Northwestern's defensive front was exceptional. You know what I'm saying? Like it's one thing if Penn State are getting guys into your backfield because their front, the front of their defense is exceptional. But I don't think anything overly exceptional about Northwestern's defensive front.
Mm-hmm.
So that has to be weighed into the scoring. And I think
Sure.
I'm going to go with just a C and not a C minus, but yeah.
Okay. Pass blocking here, similar to I think pass blocking, if I could talk, pass blocking was definitely better than the run blocking, but there were definitely times where Will had to move around more in the pocket than I would like to see him do, but definitely better than the running side. So I'd say like a B minus, B, somewhere around there.
Okay. I didn't think it was quite that bad. I hear what you're saying though, so I'm gonna go with like a B plus.
Okay.
I'm gonna go a little kinder, but just a little.
Okay.
On the pass blocking.
Offensive third downs, I'll say it ended up being 4 for 10, 2 for 5 in each half there. Yeah, this is frustrating because I know there were some third downs. It was third and manageable, and Hussey just couldn't get it done to get the first down there, especially against this Northwestern defense when they should have been able to get those third downs conversions. So I'd say like a C plus. Like I expected the third downs to be a little bit better than 4 for 10.
Yeah. Did we see a single quarterback sneak today?
Sneak. I mean, we had the tush push.
Was there one?
May or may not have gotten in the end zone, but
oh yeah, that one. Yeah. Yeah,
that was the only carry Will had in the entire game.
Was purposeful, I'm sure.
Yep.
Trying to keep him healthy going into the next 2, hopefully 3 weeks. Yeah, I feel like, again, and maybe this is me coping, but I feel like there was a lot of Ohio State trying to screw with their, opposition analytics. Oh, when it's, under 2 yards to go, they sneak the ball X amount of times. Like, I really feel like, and this goes back, not just this game, but back to Purdue. They made a lot of choices that felt so weird that I think that they're just trying to screw with their, like I said, their opposition analytics. Anyway, yeah, it wasn't anything special on third down. What did you give him, Kyle?
It's at a C plus.
I feel like that's about right. I'm gonna go B minus, but I feel like that's about right.
All right. Anything else about the offense you want to talk about or mention before we go to the defensive side?
Tyler is giving a C minus in the chat, so
okay,
we're gonna reflect that. And no, won't you go ahead and jump into self promo time, Kyle?
Sure. We are the Buckeye Sloopcast here. If you want to know more about Jared and I, you can head over to our page over at thesloopcast.com, where you can find all of our lovely links, such as our Discord page, discord.thesloopcast.com. If you want to help support Jared and I, we do have a Patreon page, patreon.thesloopcast.com, YouTube page. We have a merch store, and other links over at thesloopcast.com. Just your one main page for anything and everything Sloopcast related. So we'll go ahead and take our first break and be right back to talk about the defense.
All right. Defense. Game plan. Well,
I'll let you start.
Okay, I'll start. Not not great. Northwestern had 2 great drives against the defense off the top. And why was the game so close? Rickon says, a lack of motivation, a lack of game planning. You have a 2, maybe 3 game treacherous slide coming up. You don't need to pull out your best game planning. You don't need to put all of your game planning hours towards Northwestern. But yeah, the defensive game plan was, and maybe intentionally so, granted, but still bad. Still bad. I'm gonna go like a D plus.
Yeah, I was going to think about a D as well too. Those first 2 drives for Northwestern, 6 minutes 56 seconds, 5 minutes 30 seconds. That's almost an entire quarter just in their first 2 possessions there.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, Ohio State was able to get that fumble on that first drive when they were moving the ball pretty well against Ohio State, and the third downs. I know we're covering down at the bottom, but that third downs was even throughout the entire game, not just the first quarter, first and a half quarter, all game, like thirds downs were just, it was frustrating to watch here.
Kind of knew it was going to be one of those first quarters when they got a 13-yard run on 3rd and 13.
Yeah. That was the very first, that was the third play. It was, I can't pull it up real quick here, but yeah, it was Ohio State stopped them on the first two plays, put them in 3rd and 13, and then they ran for 13 and a half yards there. And I'm just like, really, you could have just got off the field right there, but you
changes the entire makeup of the game. You get your defense off the field right away. You get the ball back in great field possession. You get the ball back quickly. If you score right away, then your defense goes back out for a second time, totally rested, already ahead. The offense maybe changes up their game plan a bit because they think they need to start scoring. That 3rd and 13 at the beginning changes the entire makeup of the first quarter. But yeah, sorry, Kyle. What was your grade?
Yeah. It was a D. Yeah. They ran it for 3 yard QB keeper for 3 yards. Sony had that sack early on to make it that 3rd and 12, and then 12 and a half yards run there. Yeah. But game management, I thought they did much better.
Sure.
Much better here. So looking at the first half, it was pretty much almost exactly cut in half. They let up 167 yards in the first half, 84 in the second half, including 12 rushing attempts for Northwestern for -1 yards on the ground there. Much better in terms of game management, improving where they needed to as well. So in terms of the management side, yeah, I'll say like a BB plus. I'll do a B plus. I thought the management was much better in terms of making changes when they needed to.
I totally agree. We've seen this from Knowles a lot this year, and I would say typically in cupcake games, if I can say that about Northwestern, where they just kind of come in and see what the other team does, then adjust to it, which I guess if you're trying not to give anything away, makes sense. But the game plan management on the defensive side, I thought went really well. As Kyle pointed out, they adjusted. They also were rotating a lot more than the offense does in a game against Northwestern. I'd love to see more rotation from the offense. Now, granted, the defensive side is much deeper than the offensive side. But I would have liked to have seen more rotation from the offense in a Northwestern cupcake game.
Yep.
But I really like the game management on the defensive side. I'm actually going to give them a straight A on that.
Okay. All right. Run stop.
Zach, we don't talk that way in front of company. You're not the disinformation officer in at Bleacher Report. That's Discord stuff.
So run stop here. Yeah, I feel it was like the tale of two halves again here. First half they let up 62 yards on 18 attempts, and then -1 in that second half.
Right.
It's tough. I feel like this year Ohio State's definitely struggles at times with mobile quarterbacks here. I know the stats at the end do not justify how many yards he had, how many sacks. Ohio State had 4 sacks, 36 yards lost, and he ended up having 8 yards. So he had over 40 yards essentially of rushing yards if you take out the sacks then.
Sure.
So he made some plays on his feet there, and I feel like Ohio State just wasn't prepared or wasn't ready for that too.
They should have been in this case.
Yeah, they should have been. But I think everything else, Ohio State did a really good job stopping their running backs there. So I'd just say an A-. I think from the run stop they did really well. Just gotta be more careful and cautious about mobile quarterbacks.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a B. Ever since Nebraska, Ohio State has faced a lot of very stationary quarterbacks who don't run. And those quarterbacks decided to run a lot against Ohio State. And in those cases, I'm willing to like sort of say, well, they didn't game plan for that because that quarterback never runs. But that's not the case here. Both of Northwestern's quarterbacks, although we only saw one today, but both of Northwestern's quarterbacks run a lot. So there was no reason not to be ready for it today. I thought the defense got pushed around a few times, but again, it feels like so many other things with this defense. It's like the first quarter versus the rest of the game, if that makes sense, even partly into the second quarter. And then like the second they fumbled the ball on third down and then turned around and fumbled the ball again on the punt snap, everything just went downhill for Northwestern after that.
Yep.
I mean, and that's what it is when you're the underdog playing the juggernaut. That's what it is. You essentially have to go into the game and your margin you can win the game any given Saturday. You can win the game, but your margin for error is a micron thick. And your Northwestern could have maybe won this football game, except they fumbled it. Then they fumbled it. Then they fumbled it again.
Yeah.
They cost themselves a touchdown. They cost themselves a third down conversion attempt. And then they gave Ohio State the ball at the 1 yard line.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's just over. The snow rolls downhill and it's over. Because like I said, your margin for error is that thick. And if you mess it up, it's over. But anyway, the point is that a lot of the defense is hard to talk about because you essentially talk about everything that happened before the fumble and everything, or before the punt. Yeah. The punt snap failure, everything that happened before that and everything that happens after that. Because we saw essentially 2 separate defenses.
Yeah.
So it does make it hard to grade.
I would agree with that. Yeah. Pass rush. I thought the pass rush was better in this game. Ohio State ended up having four sacks in this game. They got to the quarterback enough. I would like to hope to have seen it a little bit more, especially when Ohio State was blitzing and there was times when they just couldn't get there in time with some plays. But I think for the most part, I thought it was fine. So I would say like a B for the pass rush in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go a B+ because I do think that the defensive line had the defensive ends, and I'm not just saying JT and Sawyer. I'm also talking about Kenyatta Jackson and CJ Hicks, who had a bad week in the press this week after he was, caught saying something that wasn't necessarily for public consumption. And he turned around and got a sack in this game, and or at least a shared sack. I'm not sure what it officially went down as. But yeah, I thought that the defense did the pass rush did a really good job. But I'm not going to go above an A because I do feel like we're a little dependent upon the blitz to get that pressure, which is why I think Northwestern, especially in those first couple drives, we're getting a lot of first downs because, I mean, you saw it several times. One of the first downs they got was to the tight end right in the middle of the field. Well, why was the middle of the field so wide open? Well, because both of those linebackers blitzed. That's why. So that's what happens when you blitz too much. You leave gaps in the pass coverage. So Ohio State right now, especially against an opponent like Northwestern, is a little too blitz dependent, in my opinion.
Yeah, fair enough. Pass coverage. Now, in our Discord, discord.sloopcast.com, always be plugging. A lot of people were critical with our defensive backs as of late here. There's some plays where our defensive backs were not making the plays they should have. They're letting up long receptions here. So, what's your thought about the defensive backs, mainly Burke and Igbinosun?
I mean, Iggy had a good day. He got his pass interference, which he gets every game. I think, listen, he's a physical, aggressive, handsy cornerback, and that works 50 snaps a game. The 51st snap, it doesn't. Like, you just take the good with the bad. It's kind of, I'm not saying he's Sherman back in like Sherman's days in Seattle. I'm not saying Sherman's a future Hall of Famer, but he is of that mold where he's going to beat the living hell out of you. And sometimes he's going to get a call as a result. I've come to accept that. That's Iggy's going to get a pass interference call. It's cool because for the rest of the game, he's going to beat the hell out of that wide receiver, and that's cool with me. Burke gets too much shit from the fan base. He is essentially put one-on-one against the other team's best wide receiver for the entire game, all by himself, which is what one-on-one means. I didn't need to say that. And then, once a game, if the quarterback throws the ball in the 100% right spot and the wide receiver makes an amazing play to adjust to that ball, then they make a great play and Burke gives up I've not seen since the Oregon game, a play in which Burke got burnt. He has been in situations where he was in exactly the right spot, but just didn't make the play at the end that one time. And that one time is like one time per game. Acknowledged, but so again, I talk about like when you blitz people, you lose people elsewhere, right? If you blitz someone here, it means they're not covering the tight end or the zone where the tight end might be going to get that first down. That's what I'm saying. Like, we're too dependent upon blitzing. That's why I'm saying that. What you get with Denzel Burke is literally the exact opposite of that. What you get with Denzel Burke is that you're willing to leave him alone on a wide receiver. And if he is alone on a wide receiver, then that means the other 10 guys can worry about other things. And if that means he gives up a 15-yard pass once a game, then that means he gives up a 15-yard pass once a game. What the benefit cost analysis that you're getting there, which is that everyone else on the field is free to do other things, is huge. And like with Iggy, where you just kind of accept that you're going to get a pass interference call, with Burke, you just kind of accept that there's going to be one of those passes that gets through.
Sure. So
So
what would you grade the pass coverage then?
um I'm probably gonna give it like a B. I feel like a B is fair. I know I just went on a long tirade defending the corners, but I feel like the linebackers aren't necessarily doing a good job in zone still, although they are getting better. I will say that.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to stick with, I'm going to go with a C plus. There's definitely plays. There's definitely a lot of room for improvement, especially with this talent that of a defensive back, which was arguably, Jared, when we talked about, one of the best positions outside of the wide receivers. And yeah, you let up over 200 yards to Northwestern here when that quarterback was passing, was it 54% completion coming into this game, completed 60%. He made some great throws. Yes, he made some great throws in this game here too. But yeah, you just expect that some of our defensive backs being able to make plays as well too.
Sure.
And didn't really see it as much as we were hoped to of too, which is why I'm grading it so low as well.
I would also say that our defensive backs in many cases are paying the debt that the defensive line is accumulating by not getting to the quarterback all by themselves.
Sure.
Because now you're bringing linebackers into rush, which leaves more field. It puts that load. The defensive backs are making up for what's not happening on the defensive line, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Sure. All right. Tackling.
I do want to say Jack Sawyer had a really good game, though. I feel like I'm ripping on the defensive line a lot. I felt like Jack Sawyer had a really good game. I'm not sure if I haven't seen the stats. Maybe Kyle can tell me.
Tied for the most. Tied for the most. He had 7 tackles, 7 tackles, and a forced fumble in there.
Oh yeah, he did have that forced fumble on the first drive.
Yep.
Yeah, no, Jack Sawyer had an exceptional game. I'm ripping on the defensive line a lot, but Jack Sawyer individually had an exceptional game.
The top tacklers, Reese and Sawyer, each had 7. Simon, Downs, and Stiles each had 6, and Burke had 5.
There you go.
All right. So speaking of tackles is the next one here. I thought tackling was much better in this game compared to last week. Last week, tackling was
not facing Jerome Bettis Jr. will do that for you.
Yeah. Tackling was pretty bad last week. So I'm happy to see that it was definitely much improved in this game here. I couldn't really see too many issues other than the quarterback just being elusive and getting a few extra yards here. So I'll say like a A minus. I can't really think of anything offhand of me to grade it really bad.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think I saw like one missed tackle that annoyed me, which is to say, there's always going to be, like, I'm sure there was more than one missed tackle. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying there was a single missed tackle in this game. I'm saying I saw one missed tackle that annoyed me. Avery Reese had someone sort of wrapped up and a different defender. And I know who the different defender is. I'm just not going to say his name because I feel like fans are giving him too much shit. So I'm just not going to say his name. I'm not going to add to it. Came over to help with the tackle and hit Reese more than he hit the Northwestern player, and it freed the Northwestern player to get some extra yards, but whatever. Yeah, I feel like an A minus is fair.
All right. And third downs. Northwestern was 6 for 16 on third downs in this game here. If I look here in the first half,
I was going to ask.
They were 50%, 4 for 8. 4 for 8 in the first half.
Yeah.
And then they were in the second half 2 for 8.
Yeah, I'm really going to grade the first half here. I'm going to grade the first half in this situation. And I thought it was terrible. Again, I feel like the entire tone of the first half was set by allowing a 13-yard run on 3rd and 13 on the first third down of the game, of the third play of the game. Am I going to do it? Kyle, am I actually going to do this? I did it. That's an F. That's an F.
Yeah, I was thinking D. I was thinking D for third downs. Only because I am grading the game as a whole too, because they did much better especially in the third quarter there. Third quarter,
I think that's fair.
One for 3 for Northwestern in the third quarter there, and fourth quarter is just fourth quarter at 1 for 5. But yeah, I'll say a D.
Yeah, I just felt like the game was kind of over at that point, so I'm not. Yeah, I thought they were bad. I'm with Jared. F-. F- minuses aren't a thing, but if they were, but they're not. All right. Going to jump into our second self-promo time. We are the Buckeye Sloopcast. You can find all of our, if you want to watch this episode in full along, here on Bleacher Report, we only do our post-game show, which we call Scarlet and Grade, which is grade as in a report card. You get it. You're smart. You're a smart person. You understand the pun. But we do 3 other episodes every week, and you can go watch those on our YouTube page, youtube.thesloopcast.com. If you're like, hey, I'm more of a podcast person, there's an audio version of it on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, literally anywhere you find podcasts, you can go find it. And if you can't find it on your podcast app of choice, you can literally just plug rss.thesloopcast.com into your podcast app and it'll find it. Promise. So, Jared, you just said a bunch of links. Yeah, I did. You can go to thesloopcast.com to find a page that has all of our links on it and check out our merch stores. We have 2 separate ones. One is called merch.thesloopcast.com. One is called 7071.thesloopcast.com. The merch one is specifically like Sloopcast stuff. And in the 7071 store is more of just general celebration of Ohio type apparel. So you can find those in those locations, and you can find all the other locations at thesloopcast.com. Okay, Kyle, time to talk about special teams.
All right. Where do you want to start?
Well, I feel like you're the special teams guru here. I feel like you're the special teams fanboy guru. What's the correct term to be using here? Aficionado?
Whatever you want it to be. So
okay. Kyle's a humble man.
Kicking's an A. I mean, you get the field goal. You don't kick it out of bounds on kickoffs. You get an A.
Hey, and a field goal.
I said a field goal.
Oh, my bad. I just didn't. Brain just didn't record that, Kyle. My bad. Would you say an A?
An A. Yeah. I can't give anything less than an A.
Yeah, I don't feel like there's reason to give less than an A. I also don't feel like there's reason to give more than an A, if that makes sense. Yeah. I'm not sure what it like. Maybe a super long field goal or a game winning field goal or something might get you that A+. But as of right now, I didn't see anything to add that plus to it. Punting. Sure. 2 punts this game. Is that right?
Two punts for him, for McGuire. Both of the punts inside the 20-yard line.
And we have a blocked punt on the other side.
Would I consider that for returning?
Well, we literally had this conversation last week, didn't we?
I think we did. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, let's put that under returning. Let's put that under returning.
So honestly, like you get both of your punts inside the 20-yard line. That's an A to me. That's an A.
Sorry, Kyle. I just saw your Team Chaos warning in the Discord. Discord.thesloopcast always be plugging. How is Pitt going to win that?
Nah, Clemson scored a quick touchdown.
Ah, crap.
What do you got for punting, Jared?
No complaints. Nothing special, I'd say. But no complaints.
Okay.
I put an A. Is that what you said as well?
Yep. Returning here, I still don't understand why Henderson is still returning kickoffs. I don't know what the deal is with that. And also Henderson, you're not a returner. I love you, but
Okay.
you're not a returner.
Whoa. Hey,
you got
shade
a
at my
fair
boy
catch
Henderson.
those. You got a fair catch those, buddy. He averaged a kickoff return 10.5 yards per return.
I honestly don't know how to scale that.
That's
per
not
modern standards. Like I know back in the day, like 17 yards was like an average, but that with all the new rules and whatnot, I have no idea how to scale that. Returning, listen, got a blunk pot. I almost had a blunk pot.
No,
a punt block, which yes was aided by a bad snap, but the players were still on top of it. Like they still made the play. And also you have to give an extra bit of credit to whoever actually ended up making the block. Give credit to the Northwestern punter to get that ball, pick it up, evade the first person who got there, and still get a punt off. Now, was getting the punt off the correct choice in that when you had three guys ready to block it? I don't know, but I'm just saying in that panic situation, I don't know if I'd have done any better. In fact, I'm gonna go ahead and say I wouldn't have. But whoever the brilliant mathematician was who blocked the punt, who somehow managed to make it go out of bounds at the 1, which I'm sure was intentional, which I'm sure was calculated. No doubt in my mind that was basically a pull shot where they figured out how to put the correct amount of English on it. They figured out the correct geometry to make sure that when they blocked that punt, Tyler says he thinks it was Curry who blocked the punt. To make sure that it went out of bounds at exactly the 1 yard line. That's a brilliant play. I got to give him an A+. Am I kidding? Kinda. Am I still giving him an A+? Yes, I am.
Yeah, I'll say an A.
Kyle's not going to give him that plus until it's a legitimate return touchdown, and I respect him for it.
Agreed. All right. All right. I think that's it for special teams. So we'll move on to the team real quick here. So effort. What would you say for effort wise in this game here? Not coming into Northwestern here, like knowing that you should win the game pretty easily here. What do you think about the effort from what you saw?
I felt like they were kind of flat, quite frankly. I don't blame them. I don't blame them for being flat in this situation, but the fact of the matter is I do feel like, especially at the beginning of the game, they were a bit flat. Did they figure it out as the game went? Yes, but at the start of the game, and maybe more of that should be put on the game plan than the players. In fact, it should, so I'm not going to go too harsh here, but they were a bit flat at the beginning. I'm going to do a B.
Okay, yeah, I was thinking of B as well too. It just seemed flat. It just seemed very flat in this game.
Tyler, is that A for effort or is that A for returning?
I think that was effort. I think that was effort. Or I'm sorry, returning. Sorry, returning.
Probably. The Bleacher Report has a bit of a delay on it.
Yeah. Discipline is the next one here. I'm not sure how to grade discipline in this game. I'm not sure how to do it in this game. This was it's a little bit of everything. It's a little bit of mental mistakes, a little bit of penalties. I would say like a B. I'd say B here.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I saw much in the way of like missed assignments, which goes under discipline. I don't think I saw excessive penalties. We didn't have a situation in which someone got like lost their temper and hit someone after the play.
Yeah.
I, I, yeah, I think they were fine. I'm gonna go like a B plus.
Okay.
I don't think I saw anything from a discipline standpoint that I would call bad. I felt like the pass rushers, for example, for the most part, did a good job pass rushing while also containing, which can be difficult to do. Yeah, overall pretty good.
Okay. Execution, I think I'll kind of grade the same way with discipline. I think execution could have been better. A lot of good things I've seen in this game here. So I would say B for execution. Grading on both defense and offense and special teams as a whole for execution. Yeah, I think B sounds about right.
Yeah. There weren't like drop passes. There weren't, I would say there are probably some execution issues on the blocking side. Because I don't think they were getting out athleted there. But again, I felt like people, we didn't see any Northwestern players running completely alone down the field because there was some sort of blown, misinterpreted coverage. Like the actual execution, I felt like the players did a really good job. I really think it was the game plan that was lacking. I'm gonna go like an A minus.
Okay. And overall, I would say B.
Yeah.
You win 30. You win 31-7. Definitely some things to clean up, some things that to work on for next weekend's game against Indiana and then Michigan the following week there. So I think overall it's a B rated for me.
Yeah, I agree. At the end of the day, it is Northwestern. So I don't, aside from doing to them what they did to Purdue last week, which, just eliminate them from the game immediately. It's hard for me to give this team an A for this game. You would have got a shutout. They didn't do that. They didn't even score first. Ohio State was actually losing at one point in this game, early in the game after 3 drives. Not a big deal, obviously. But this was not Ohio State's best performance, given, and I say that understanding who they were playing and what the expectations were. For example, Ohio State didn't cover. I'm sure there are some people who are upset by that. So yeah, let's see. Tyler said B. Kyle, you said B as well, right?
I think so.
Well, change your mind if you want to.
There it is, B. There it is, B. Yep.
And I'm gonna go like a B minus. Could have been better. You weren't the better team in the first quarter. Like,
yes, weren't. Yeah.
You know what? Me saying that out loud, I'm going down to a C plus. You can't not be the best. You can't not be the best team in all 4 quarters against a team like Northwestern.
Mm-hmm.
I changed my own mind in real time there. That's what everyone just saw. You lost the first quarter, and I don't just mean on the scoreboard. Like you were not the best team in the game through the first quarter.
Mm-hmm.
In any statistical category, Northwestern beat your ass in the first quarter. Now, was anyone? Well, I can't speak for everyone. I know I wasn't sitting there going, "Oh God, it's going to be an upset." Like, we see teams lose first quarters against inferior opponents all the time. It's not a big deal, but I'd like to see better.
Yep.
Because of the team, I changed my answer to C plus. Okay, Tyler. Listen, if I can change my mind in real time, so can Tyler. So can the chat. Okay. All right, Kyle.
All right.
That's our report card.
That is, yes.
Okay. Any parting thoughts for this game? Or is this just like, hey, file it and prepare for Indiana? Because that's where I'm at.
That's exactly my thoughts too. Prepare for Indiana next weekend because should be a good one.
I think I saw Ohio State minus 10.5.
I saw that a few days ago. I'm not sure if that's what it is now. But yeah, that's. I'll be honest. Like, I may take the points there early on, but may change my mind. May change my mind when we cover the Know Your Enemy Indiana edition later on in the week.
Yeah, Know Your Enemy Indiana will be released on Thursday at youtube.thesloopcast.com. Always be plugging. Yeah, so come if you're like, hey, we like your guys' post games here on Bleacher Report. We want to see your pre games too, which we're always referencing when we do these. Check us out, youtube.thesloopcast.com. All right, Kyle, anything else, or are we done here?
I think we're good.
All right, we are good. We are the Buckeye Sloopcast. Once again, find everything you need to find at thesloopcast.com. Thanks for joining us. Have a good rest of your Saturday, everybody.